Hi, friend. I really hope you had a great week. This week, I want to talk a little bit about the fact of how we face situations. How do we face it when we had a hard situation in our lives where maybe we had a death, or we had a dream shattered, or yeah, something just happened to us, whatever. Um, how are we facing that? What are we gonna do? Just different ways how we can face it. One of them is probably escaping into a fantasy world and just living in there, right? We can just step out and be oh, I unlink from this thing, I'm just gonna leave it over there and I'm just gonna live in my fantasy world and I'm happy. I'm gonna watch movies and just pretend I'm in there, or whatever it is, however we're gonna escape. We can do that. Or we can live in fear. We can let fear control us and be oh, you know, I will never have this dream come true. It can't happen. If I do this, always bad things will happen. Or if this happens to me, I'm yeah, I'm just done. But the reality is, none of those are true. Living in a fantasy world is not real. And fear that wants to control us isn't real either. It can really affect us, but the reality is, when we face it, God can bring us through, even the hardest situations. God can make a way. And that's the reality. When you look at Jesus, when you look at his life, and especially the last few days, when he went to the garden, he took his disciples with him, right? And he was in there in the garden, and he asked them hey guys, can you pray with me? Because I'm gonna go to this cross soon, and it's gonna be really hard, and I need you. So he went into the garden, he went before God, his Father, and said, hey, if there's a way that I can get rid of this, can you help me? Can you let me out of it? He could have done and be hey, let's send angels, let's get me out of here. Or he could have said hey, I just don't do it. Or he could have been overwhelmed with fear and be oh no, I'm not gonna make it at the cross, I'm not gonna do it, it's not gonna happen, I'm gonna lose at the end and the enemy's gonna win. No, he didn't. Jesus was alright, I'm gonna face this with you, Father. So he went to his Father first, but then secondly, he brought his disciples along. And his disciples helped him through it. They were alright, we go with you. We'll pray with you. But the reality was they fell asleep. So if you face hard situations, don't have people with you that are really tired. But no, I don't think that's a lesson to learn from this. But it's interesting, he brought people along with him. He said, I'm not gonna walk through this alone. I'm gonna have my friends with me. Of course, not to the cross, but till then, in the garden. And that's amazing. So when you face hard situations in your life, look at Jesus' example. He succeeded. But even probably some of the things were really, really hard. Going to a cross, imagine that. That's hard and challenging and definitely not easy. But he made the choice. He made okay, I'm gonna trust, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna trust the Father. And he didn't go into fear, and he didn't go into this fantasy world of oh, it's just gonna be easy and blah 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 blah. No, he faced it. He faced it how it was. And that's probably the best way to do it. So when you go through hard situations, face it. Face the situation. Don't ignore it. Don't walk away from it. Don't be oh yeah, whatever. And don't medicate it either. Whatever you do, don't do, go into this extreme of yeah, just I'll medicate it all the time, watch movies or do whatever, and not face it. Because then it's never gonna go away, and it will keep hitting you. But then also don't be afraid. Don't be afraid that it always has to be that way. God can bring new dreams or restore that dream. It's not the end. God can bring you through those situations. He can make a way because he's God. He's awesome, right? And I want to encourage you in that. whatever it is, whatever you're facing in your life, whatever challenge you're facing, God can bring you through it. Make sure you have people with you, because people can encourage you. They can actually give you perspective, because they're gonna see the whole thing. They're not just seeing like a piece, but they see it all. Like they see like, okay, you know, you might have lost this one, but there's so many other ones, and I see all the stuff in you. And that will help you to go through. So make sure, surround yourself with people. Secondly, have your friends help you with it. Like have your friends surrounding you with friends. Sorry, lost my thought. But then also focus on the Father. And don't let the other two overtake you. Don't let fear overtake you, and don't let medication overtake you, like kind of like, you know, escaping into a fantasy world. So face your things, go through them, learn through them, and trust the Father. He's going to bring you through. Have a blessed week. Love you guys.